Marcus Reed pulled his weathered coat tighter as he descended into the depths of Nexus Station. The air grew thicker and more oppressive with each level, filled with the stench of unwashed bodies and desperation. He needed spare parts for his ship's engine, and unfortunately, the black market was his only option. The underground corridors buzzed with illegal activity. Smugglers hawked stolen goods while information brokers whispered secrets in shadowy alcoves. Marcus kept his hand near his plasma pistol, knowing that trust was a luxury he couldn't afford in this place, as he approached the mechanic's quarter. A soft, pleading voice caught his attention. In the dim light of a side passage, he saw something that made his blood run cold. A young woman knelt behind energy bars, her wrists bound with glowing restraints. But she wasn't human. Her skin shimmered with an ethereal silver hue, and her hair cascaded like liquid starlight down her shoulders. When she looked up, her eyes were the deep violet of nebula clouds. Filled with desperate hope. "Please," she whispered, her voice carrying a musical accent he'd never heard before. "Can you buy me? I'll do anything. Just please, don't leave me here." Marcus felt his chest tighten. He'd seen slavery throughout the outer systems, but something about this particular scene twisted his gut. The girl couldn't be more than 20 standard years. The bruises on her arms told a story he didn't want to imagine. A grotesque alien merchant waddled over, his tentacles writhing with excitement. "Interested in premium merchandise, human?" "She's Stellari, last of her kind." "Very rare, very expensive? How much?" Marcus asked, his voice steady despite the anger building in his chest. The merchant's eyes gleamed with greed. 50,000 credits. No negotiation. Marcus looked at his credit chip, then at the engine parts he desperately needed. Without those parts, he'd be stranded. But looking at those chains, at the desperate hope in those alien eyes, he made a choice that would change everything. "I'll take her," he said. Transferring the credits before he could change his mind, the energy bars flickered off, and the restraints released with a soft click. The girl collapsed forward, and Marcus caught her gently, surprised by how light she felt. "What's your name?" he asked softly. "Zephora," she whispered against his shoulder. "I thought I would die in that cage." "Not today," Marcus replied, helping her stand. "Can you walk?" She nodded, though her legs trembled. As they moved through the crowd, Marcus noticed how other aliens stared at them with a mixture of fear and awe. "Why did you save me?" Zephora asked as they reached the main corridor. Marcus paused, looking into her violet eyes. "Because everyone deserves freedom." Behind them, station alarms began to wail. Escape and connection move. Marcus grabbed Zephora's hand as security forces poured into the corridor behind them. The merchant had obviously reported the sale, probably hoping for a reward from whoever wanted Stellari slaves. They ran through the maze of station corridors, Zephora's bare feet silent against the metal decking. Despite her recent captivity, she moved with surprising grace, like a dancer or trained warrior. This way, Marcus pulled her into a maintenance shaft. In the cramped space, they were pressed close together, and he could smell the faint scent of starflowers in her silver hair. "They're scanning for biosignatures." Zephora whispered, her breath warm against his ear. "I can mask ours, but you have to trust me." Before he could ask what she meant, she placed her hands on his chest. A strange tingling sensation spread through his body like being touched by lightning. Around them, the air shimmered with an almost invisible energy field. "Stellari technology," she explained softly. "My people were energy manipulators." The security team's footsteps echoed overhead, then faded as they moved past their hiding spot. In the dim light of the shaft, Marcus found himself studying Zephora's face. Her features were delicate but strong, with high cheekbones and full lips that seemed to glow with inner light. He asked gently. Pain flickered across her features. "The Dominion Empire destroyed our homeworld 3 cycles ago. They feared our abilities." Without thinking, Marcus reached up and touched her cheek. She leaned into his palm, her eyes closing. "I'm sorry," he said. "You saved me," she replied, covering his hand with hers. "No one has shown me kindness in so long." The moment stretched between them, charged with unspoken emotions. Then the sound of approaching voices broke the spell. They emerged from the maintenance shaft near the docking bay, where Marcus's ship waited. The Stellar Wind wasn't much to look at, a modified freight hauler with more repairs than original parts, but she was fast and reliable. As they hurried up the boarding ramp, Zephora stumbled. Marcus caught her around the waist, pulling her close. For a heartbeat, they stood frozen, her body pressed against his. "Marcus," she breathed, and he could see his own desire reflected in her violet eyes. The ship's proximity alarm shattered the moment. Through the viewport, they could see station security converging on their dock. "Hold on," Marcus said. Rushing to the pilot's seat, the engines roared to life, and they shied away from Nexus Station just as energy beams lanced through the space they'd occupied. Seconds before, in the co-pilot's chair, Zephora watched the station shrink behind them. "Where will we go?" Marcus activated the autopilot and turned to face her. "Wherever you want. You're free now," she smiled, and it was like watching a star being born. 3 days into their journey through the void, Marcus had converted the ship's small guest quarters for Zephora. She'd traded the tattered slave garments for one of his spare shirts, which hung loose on her slender frame but somehow made her look even more beautiful. They sat together in the ship's tiny galley, sharing a simple meal. Zephora had been telling him about her people, the Stellari, and their once great civilization among the crystal spires of Luminos Prime. "We were artists and dreamers," she said, her violet eyes distant with memory. "We could weave energy into sculptures of pure light, create music from the cosmic background radiation itself." "It sounds magnificent," Marcus said, leaning closer across the small table. "It was," she smiled sadly, "until the Dominion decided we were too dangerous to live." Her hand rested on the table between them, and Marcus slowly reached out to cover it with his own. She didn't pull away. "Zephora," he began. But the ship's alarm system suddenly screamed to life. 3 vessels approaching fast, Marcus read from his scanner. "Pirates." The first impact rocked the ship violently. Emergency lighting bathed everything in red as more weapons fire hammered their shields. "Get to the emergency pod," Marcus shouted, fighting to maintain control. "No." Zephora grabbed his arm. "I won't leave you." Another blast sent them tumbling together into the bulkhead. Marcus found himself pinning Zephora against the wall, their faces inches apart. Her silver hair had come loose, framing her face like a nebula. "I can help," she whispered urgently. "Let me show you what Stellari can really do." She pressed her palms against the ship's hull. Suddenly, the entire vessel hummed with new energy. The lights grew brighter, the engines more powerful. Through their bond, Marcus could feel her strength flowing into his ship. Working together, they managed to outmaneuver the pirates, Zephyr's energy manipulation giving them impossible speed and agility. When they finally escaped to hyperspace, they collapsed together on the deck, breathless and exhilarated. "That was incredible," Marcus said, looking down at her where she lay in his arms. "So are you," she replied softly. This time nothing interrupted them. Marcus lowered his head and their lips met in a kiss that seemed to ignite the very air around them. Zephyr's abilities responded to her emotions, surrounding them both in gentle, warm light. When they finally broke apart, both were breathing hard. "Marcus," she whispered, her hands tracing the strong lines of his jaw. "I never thought I could feel this way again." "What way?" he asked, though he already knew. "Safe. Cherished. Like I'm not alone in the universe anymore." He kissed her forehead tenderly. "You're not alone. Not anymore." Outside the viewports, stars wheeled past in brilliant streams as they traveled deeper into unknown space, leaving the dangers of civilized worlds behind. The Stellari secret they made love for the first time in the soft glow of hyperspace, Zephyra's natural luminescence, painting their entwined bodies in silver light. Marcus had never experienced anything like the way she responded to his touch. Her abilities, making every caress electric, every kiss a small supernova of sensation. Afterward, as they lay tangled in his quarters, She traced patterns on his chest with her fingertips. "There's something I haven't told you," she said quietly. "Something the Dominion would kill entire worlds to possess." Marcus tightened his arms around her. "Tell me, before my world died, the High Council entrusted me with something precious. The heart of Luminos, a crystalline matrix that contains the stored knowledge and power of every Stellari who ever lived." She reached into a hidden pocket of her discarded clothing and withdrew a pendant that pulsed with inner starlight. The moment it was exposed, Marcus could feel its power humming through the ship. "It's inside you," he realized, "merged with my life force. As long as I live, the heart lives. And with it, the possibility of rebuilding my people." Before Marcus could respond, the ship's communication system crackled to life. "Unknown vessel, this is Commander Jox of the Free Coalition. We've been tracking your energy signature. We know what you carry." Marcus and Zephora exchanged glances. The Free Coalition fought against Dominion expansion, but trust was still a luxury they couldn't afford. "What do you want?" Marcus replied carefully. "To offer sanctuary and alliance. The Dominion has mobilized half their fleet to find you. You need our protection." Hours later, they sat in the command center of Theta Base, a hidden rebel stronghold carved into a rogue asteroid. Commander Jox, a weathered veteran with kind eyes, studied the heart of Luminos with reverence. "With this, we could turn the tide," he said. "The Stellari knowledge of energy manipulation could revolutionize our weapons, our shields, our entire war effort." "At what cost?" Zephora asked quietly. "Your freedom," Jox admitted. "The Dominion will never stop hunting you. But here, surrounded by our forces, you'd be safe." That night, in their temporary quarters, Marcus held Zephora as she wept for the choice she faced. To remain hidden meant abandoning the galaxy to Dominion tyranny. To fight meant risking everything they'd found together. "Whatever you decide," he whispered into her silver hair, "I'll stand with you." She turned in his arms, her violet eyes blazing with determination. "Then we fight. But not just for the rebellion, for the future we want to build together." Their lovemaking that night was passionate and desperate, as if they could forge an unbreakable bond through the joining of their bodies and souls. The final battle began at dawn over the industrial world of Corvin Prime. The Dominion fleet, led by the massive dreadnought, Subjugator, faced the combined forces of the Free Coalition in the system's asteroid field, aboard their modified fighter. Marcus and Zephora flew as one being. The heart of Luminos had created a psychic link between them, allowing perfect coordination as they weaved through the cosmic battlefield. "There," Zephora pointed to the Subjugator's command tower. "Admiral Cross is aboard that ship. If we can take him out, the fleet will fall into chaos." Their fighter, enhanced with Stellari energy manipulation, danced between capital ship weapons like a silver ghost. But as they approached the dreadnought, Dominion interceptors swarmed around them. "I'm going to try something," Zephora said, placing her hands on the ship's control console. "But I need you to trust me completely. Always," Marcus replied, without hesitation. Zephora closed her eyes and reached deep into the heart's power. The fighter suddenly blazed with blinding light, becoming a miniature star as they punched through the enemy formation. They crash-landed in the Subjugator's main hangar, their ship's hull glowing cherry red from atmospheric entry. As Dominion troops surrounded them, Admiral Cross himself appeared. A tall man in pristine uniform whose eyes held the coldness of deep space. "The last Stellari," he sneered. "Your people were a plague on the galaxy's natural order. My people were artists and dreamers," Zephora replied. Stepping forward, "You destroyed them because you feared beauty itself." Cross raised his sidearm, but Marcus moved faster, tackling the Admiral as energy beams scorched the air above them. In the chaos that followed, Zephora touched the ship's power core and channeled the heart's energy directly into the dreadnought systems. The massive vessel began to tear itself apart from within, as Stellari power overloaded every circuit and conduit. Emergency lights flickered and died as the ship's artificial gravity failed. "The escape pods," Marcus shouted, pulling Zephora toward the nearest exit. they barely made it to safety before the subjugator exploded in a brilliant flower of destruction. The sight of their flagship's death broke the Dominion fleet's morale, and the remaining ships retreated into hyperspace. Later, as they stood together on Theta Base's observation deck, watching the celebration, Zephora leaned against Marcus's shoulder. "It's over," she said softly. "No," Marcus replied, turning her to face him. "It's just beginning." He dropped to one knee, producing a simple ring he'd fashioned from ship's metal. "Zephora of the Stellari, will you marry me and help me explore this galaxy we've helped free?" Her answer came in the form of a kiss that lit up the entire observation deck with warm silver light. Around them, the stars seemed to shine brighter, as if the universe itself was celebrating their love. "Yes," she whispered against his lips. "To all of it, yes." In the distance, unmarked ships carried the news to hidden Stellari survivors scattered across the galaxy. The last daughter of Luminos had found love among the stars, and with it, hope for the future.